What is the Holy Spirit's job? Well, we say holy because it's supposed to be set apart or different, unique, maybe even weird. That's what holy means. Spirit, well, we get the word spirit from the same place where we also get the word respiration, you breathe, where we also get expire, the breath has left you, inspire, breath comes into you. So actually, spirit has a lot to do with breath and wind even. The Hebrew word for spirit is ruach. I really like that one. Now, it can mean a strong wind. It can even mean a violent wind. And not only that, but ruach can also mean wide open spaces. Because where else do strong winds happen but in wide open plains and fields, right? Winds can sweep across them. It doesn't quite happen the same way in crowded cities. Not in the same way. Well, the Holy Spirit comes and goes where it wants. It is the breath of God and often is shown as a dove in the Bible, symbolically, from the book of Genesis and even in the early chapters of the Gospels. The Holy Spirit exists for one main task, and I'm going to say it's renew. Now, we say that Jesus is a reconciler, so Jesus likes to take things that are broken and to put them back together, and then that's the process of putting things together. The Holy Spirit, though, has the job of taking that thing and making it fully complete, I guess you could say. The Holy Spirit exists to renew things, to recreate things, but not only renew as in R-E-N-E-W, but to renew or to reknow, R-E-K-N-O-W, to reknow things. So actually the Holy Spirit comes along to remind us of teachings and of things that we've heard, lessons that we've gotten, insights that we've gained. The Holy Spirit actually exists to renew us, sometimes by helping us remember the teachings that we've gotten. Now, in the book of Romans, there's a famous passage that says, we are to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. That we can actually be very different people if we keep ourselves open to the Holy Spirit teaching us about how to live this life. Holy Spirit is always about potential. The Holy Spirit is always about growth in two things, health and in holiness. The Holy Spirit exists to inspire us to do CPR on our soul. The Holy Spirit exists to surprise us. Yeah. So when we talk about God as Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, God is the creator, God the Father is creator, Christ is the reconciler, and the Holy Spirit is the redeemer or the renewer. Now, all three of those persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, are actually always present. But the Holy Spirit has a really unique thing to do. Because there's two ways of influencing people, right? The first is with a hammer, or let's say a gun. You can use force and intimidation to get people to do things. You have a threat of a hammer or the threat of a gun, and that's not really the best way, right? But the Holy Spirit kind of prefers to use smells or scents. Have you ever smelled a cake baking? Have you ever smelled a pie in the oven or a really good dinner? Yeah. And then you're led after it. Well, I think the Holy Spirit prefers to use smells and scents to kind of invite us into greater health and holiness. I don't think the Holy Spirit wants to use force or intimidation. I don't think that's really of God. But I think that the Holy Spirit, since it is wind, carries to us the scent of a different kind of life. And so all of a sudden, the Holy Spirit is interesting because it carries to us the scent or the hint that a different kind of life is possible for us. And then we're led along after the breath or the wind of God, the Ruach, into a wide open kind of life where there's lots of potential and where there can always be further growth into health and holiness. Now, I say those two words, and I really think that they're important, health and holiness, because most of us have this understanding that Christianity is actually only concerned with us growing in holiness. And when we say that, we mean that you should get to know the rituals of religion a little bit more. You should memorize more and more of the Bible, and that's all good and fine. But I think part of us being renewed by the Holy Spirit means that the Holy Spirit also wants to heal us. And so we can always realize that the smell, the scent, or the hint of a healthier life where we give up certain addictions or we give up certain habits, that idea comes to us from the Holy Spirit. Not just the idea that, hey, maybe I should pay attention in church more, but also, hey, maybe I should pay attention to my own self because my body is a church. My body is a temple, just like the church is. And so Holy Spirit has got a number of tasks to do. Like I said before, the Holy Spirit exists to renew. And some people would even use this big fancy word, regenerate, which means to revive, to make us alive again, to take where we were cut down and made less than. It's the Holy Spirit's job to help us grow that part of us back again, to be invited into greater health and holiness. But the Holy Spirit is kind of everywhere. And so don't fall into the mistake of thinking Holy Spirit only exists in church buildings or even only in pastors. The Holy Spirit is actually present in more ways than we want to realize. So I would invite you, always be open to the hint or the smell, the lure of Holy Spirit inviting us into greater health and holiness and to helping us rethink things so that we can become more and more transformed into the image and likeness of Jesus. So that's what the Holy Spirit's job is.